wanted from the jump. We came to get exactly what you want. Came here to say that you don't really want it with us. Yeah, we live, you know. We came here to say that you don't really want it with us. Yeah, the sports show.
Yerrr. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Yerrr Sports Show, episode 160. I'm your host, the wise brother, Big Baby, a.k.a. the soul of R&B. And at the bottom of the pyramid, we have BK Matt.
What's going on? My service is shitty. So I'll be in and
I was
out.
about to say, is that BK man? I can't see him.
Right.
That's
and after
because I'm outside. I'm hiding.
Oh, God. And at the top right of the pyramid, we have the owner, the creator of We Are Wrestling, the voice of a generation, Pete Rosado.
What's up, everybody? How you doing? Hope y'all also all tuned into the Dog Days of Baseball podcast this past week. That was a great one.
Yes,
no gimmick infringement. Sorry, Wilkins. I'm just thirsty today.
Shout out to the Dog Days of Baseball podcast. They're on episode 5. You'll hear us on Mondays. If you watch,
shout out to the Queen who's not with us today.
Yes, I'm gonna get into her too. But definitely shout out to the Queen as well, Queen Tay. She's on assignment. She'll be back with us shortly. But again, Dog Days of Baseball podcast every other Tuesday on the Yerrr Sports Show.
Thursday.
Every other Tuesday on all streaming platforms. Every other Thursday live on Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, all of that. But fellas, how you guys feeling? It's been a kind of slow week, but hasn't been a slow 2 weeks in sports.
I'm surprised. I'm not gonna hold you. I'm mad surprised. I'm more surprised that the East flopped the way that it did. So I'm disappointed about that. But I ain't gonna hold you. I've just been enjoying women's basketball for the week. That's all I've really been doing. What about you, Pete?
No, I've been good. Listen, the school year is close to coming to an end, so I'm very happy about that. Get some time to relax. I don't know what it is to, people have been asking me like, oh, would you ever leave education? And I'm like, I've thought about it, but I also don't know what it is to work summers anymore. I'm just used to having 2 months off.
That'd be nice.
No, it's not. It's not. It sucks, but it's nice. It sucks, but it's nice. Yeah, and I mean, just keeping up with everything, watching the Yankees get hot, Aaron Judge get hot, vaulting himself back into MVP conversation.
Man, Aaron Judge, it's hot and cold, but he do it.
And just yesterday, I was able to spend some time with one of my co-hosts from the Dog Days of Baseball podcast. Me and the Territorian Alphonse Stevens went out to a Met game yesterday. Yes, I was at a Met game wearing Met colors. But I wore a Yankee.
Wow. I was just surprised you was outside. That's what I was really surprised about.
Listen, I went in Met colors. I had an orange polo shirt and blue shorts, but I wore a Yankee hat.
Traitor.
To Citi Field.
You can't go to Met games. Like, apparently I can't support the Knicks even though I live in New York. I used to live in New York, and I was always a Knicks fan.
Well, see, the fact of the matter is, my grandfather, God rest his soul, and my dad were both Met fans. So when I grew up watching a lot of Mets baseball. Obviously, my mother and my father separated. My mother got custody of me, and so I became a Yankee fan growing up as a kid when I became my own baseball fan. But truth be told, I went to a lot of games at the old Shea Stadium. Just because it was a lot easier to get to Shea in terms of ticket prices and things like that.
Yes,
and
because they sucked and they were cheap.
Yeah, and I was that nerd, right? I was that nerd who'd win like the summer reading contest all the time at the library.
Summer reading contest is crazy.
Yeah, you like who could read the most books over the summer? And they would always give you Met tickets. They would always give you free Met tickets. So I'd always end up going to like a free Mets game or community stuff. Just give out free Met tickets. So I went to more Met games at Shea Stadium than I did Yankee games at Yankee Stadium until I became like a full-grown adult. To this day, I think I've gone to more Met games live than Yankee games, just due to the ostentatious price of Yankee tickets. But
what word you just said?
Ostentatious.
Really?
It's
Pete?
almost like ostentatious.
Really, Pete? That's too
What?
much goddamn syllable. I told you about this. Obstinate. Really? Like.
Yeah, I feel like Matt.
Yo, there's always sirens in East New York. That shit is crazy.
Matt is like Matt's like that Lupe song. Matt's like that Lupe song, Dumb It Down.
Oh, I thought you meant Kick and Push. That's
I love
exactly
Kick. But Matt always trying to get me to dumb it down. And I shan't not.
I'm just saying you need to say words that people know. That is crazy.
I'm gonna start with
it sounds like a fucking disease. That's what it sounds like.
All right, guys. All right, let's keep it pushing. First thing we're gonna start with is Caitlin Clark. So she and Angel Reese had their first WNBA game, and as we've stated previously on the podcast, other news outlets are calling this the potential to be the next Bird versus Magic matchup. The Indiana Fever won 71-70 after a missed free throw, but there was a nasty flagrant foul committed during the game.
Really,
and,
it was flagrant. It was
upgraded to a flagrant one. That's why I said it was a nasty flagrant.
And there was no reason for it. It was not a basketball play.
It's basketball. Come on. Come on now. You know how it is when you be in the moment.
Play.
That's not
how it is when you in the moment, yo.
So you're in the moment. So you drop. So you
Dre, she did your move.
Somebody.
She did your move. That was your move.
That's not my move. I don't do that.
You're an enforcer. Yes, it is. It's what you do.
Just because I'm an enforcer doesn't mean I do that. I'm not doing that all the time. As an enforcer,
I'm not doing that all the time. It's crazy.
How's that crazy? Anyway, as an I don't know how that's crazy. You reach.
No, not like in that realm. I'm talking about saying like, but you just sit there defend like I don't do that, but I don't do it all the time.
For no reason.
Yeah, like if I knock somebody down in the heat of the game, I'm coming over. Like, yo, my bad. Like that person, she clearly hit her and just like she cleaned her and then looked and then kept walking. Like, so these women are trying to set a standard or an example to Caitlin Clark. So my question is, and as the people chant is in the comments saying that the women's are more physical than the men. He's saying it's a basketball play. We can agree to disagree. And the elbow to the ribs sends a message, absolutely. But my question
also one of Dre's moves.
It's not. I've never elbowed anybody in the ribs. I can put that on. I'll put that on my mother. I never elbowed nobody in the ribs. But my question to you fellas, starting with Matt, where the hell are her teammates?
They ass. Without saying, it is what they ass. Look. They sending a message, I guess, to her that it ain't gonna be as easy as it was in the NCAA. You're gonna have to work, and you're gonna have to man the fuck up.
Right?
Like it be like that sometimes. It's not, and they don't just do that to just her. She's just getting the video portion of it. Why? Because everybody's paying attention to her. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's like crazy. It's a basketball play. Like I'm with Randy. It's a basketball play. When emotions are high, and I'm not saying emotions because she's a woman. I'm saying emotions like as in a competitor. When emotions is high, you wanna it ain't going down like that. Fuck you think you doing? You ain't coming down here. No, boom, get the fuck out of here. We like people do that. So I mean, I don't know. I feel like people really pay attention more or less because it's Caitlin Clark. Yeah, it wasn't unnecessary, but in all honesty, a lot of moves that are done in basketball realms is not necessary. But sometimes it's what feeds competition. I love it. I like it. I think y'all need to relax and stop paying too close attention to it and make it seem like she's being picked on. It don't just happen to her.
It's tough, right? Because yes, and as Randy just said in our viewer chat, like yes, there is a sense of you're a rookie and you're gonna earn this, right? There is a sense of that, right? But here's my problem with it. I want to turn this around for a second. If the WNBA was primarily a league of white women, and this was Angel Reese getting treated like this, we'd be up in arms talking about how she's getting treated unfairly and they're playing harsher on her and harder on her. And it does go both ways. Listen, I get it. I get it that white privilege has run rampant on this country for ages. And, you know, like we were in this point where it's just like, you know what? White people, you got to eat it, right? You got to eat it. Like we ate it for all these years. You got to eat it too. But at the end of the day, we do have to call it out. What it does seem like it is somewhat racially motivated, right? It does seem like it's like, yo, this white girl coming in, ain't nobody heralded us, ain't nobody put us up on the same pedestal. They're not doing the same. Show me a play where before the ball gets inbounded, this was not the ball got inbounded and Caitlin had the ball in her hands and Kennedy Carter trucked her. That was not that. The ball was not even inbounded yet, and Kennedy Carter trucked Caitlin Clark before she touched the ball, before anything. Okay? And at the end of the day, this does have a little bit of a stench of, listen here, white girl, you're not going to get put on this pedestal. You're not going to get all this press because you're this white girl. And I get it. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, it's the truth. If Caitlin Clark had not been media heralded, and a lot of this is also the way the media covers Caitlin Clark, because listen, I will say, why am I forgetting her name? Jesus.
Wilson?
No. Why am I forgetting her name? No. She's an incredible journalist. She used to be on SportsCenter. They unfairly fired her.
Oh shit! I know what you're talking about.
Black woman.
Fuck.
I know you're talking about.
What is her name?
Continue, but we don't.
Yeah. She does. She got a podcast now, right?
Yes.
I know exactly.
She used to be on with Jamani on at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Fuck.
Jamel Hill. There we go.
Yeah, that's her name. Jamel Hill. I read her book. It was good.
I agree a lot with what she's been saying, right? Like a lot of this is also like the way the media has covered Caitlin Clark unfairly, in the fact that they've shown her all this love, they give her all this media coverage, and they've never really done this for like the incredible black women that have been playing at similar levels to Caitlin Clark in the NCAA and even in the WNBA, right? You didn't see, like, Brittany Griner got a lot of coverage because she was 7-footer, she was dunking, things like that. But a lot of people don't get this kind of coverage, right? Like Candace Parker didn't get the same kind of coverage that Caitlin Clark did in college. Candace Parker got covered in the WNBA after she started becoming a really big deal. Maya Moore, like, they talk about the teams, right? You've always heard like NCAA covers the UConn women, the Tennessee women, the LSU women, right? They don't necessarily talk about singular players. They don't put them on pedestals like they have with Caitlin Clark. So yes, the media has done a very unfair thing in really championing Caitlin Clark. And we've said this on this show as like this white savior, the white superwoman to the WNBA. They even attributed the fact that the WNBA got chartered flights because Caitlin Clark is in the league. It had nothing to do with Caitlin Clark getting drafted or being brought into the league. But the fact that you've now attributed the fact that this girl got drafted and now the WNBA got chartered flights, it goes a lot further. And I think there is a sense of resentment from some of the women in the WNBA that have put in the time, that have put in the effort to like, yo, you're not going to be treated special, right? But there is that light that shines on it because this is, as the media brands her, this great white hope woman coming into the WNBA. And to her credit, Caitlin Clark has never fed into any of that. Caitlin Clark has not fed into it. She has not like given it any life. She has not sat here and put herself on a pedestal. And I got a lot of respect for Caitlin Clark for doing that. But I do feel like there are a lot of things that are unfairly attributed to Caitlin Clark, and she is treated a little bit unfair. This is a little bit different than just rookie hazing. I feel like this is going a little too far. I feel like they're truly trying to humble this woman in a really, really bad way. And it's going to backfire because I think it also feeds into the white media perception of the angry, petty black woman, which we don't need to give white media any more reason to continue pushing story because it's untrue as it is. And Kennedy Carter didn't do herself any service by walking into the interview room immediately. And the first thing she says when she gets asked a question, because you know damn well you're going to get asked about it, I ain't answering no questions about no Caitlin Clark.
I agree with what she did. I'm not gonna hold you. And I'm sorry, Joe. I know you want to. I want you. I know. I want you to respond, but I agree 100% with Randy. I watched WNBA. I used to, assist the coach with women's basketball in high school. They've always played like this. I think the biggest story about all of this is because people are now getting used to watching women play basketball. So they have this affinity that women should not play rough. They should not play tough. They should not trash talk. That's what all of this is about. Yeah, Caitlin Clark is looked at as the great white hope in the media's eyes. Granted, she's not playing into it, but I don't agree with the angry black women narrative. Like they're jealous. I don't agree with that at all. 100. I do not. I don't support that. I feel like they all support her, and they understand what the media what the media around her brings to their game. I don't feel like it's jealousy. I just feel like they're playing like they've always played, but it's getting high attention and it's being ultra sensitive because they look at Caitlin Clark like the great white hope. That's all that I see it as. I don't think it's a racial thing. I don't think that she did it out of malice or racism. She did it because that's part of the game.
I don't think there's any racism, but it gets perceived that way. I'm just saying, I do think that there are women in the WNBA that feel some type of way about the coverage that Caitlin Clark gets, and rightfully so. They should feel upset, right? I do believe that the women in the WNBA should feel upset that the media has covered Caitlin Clark much differently than they've covered these other women, because Maya Moore and Aja Wilson and Liz Cambridge and going all the way back to Brittany Griner and all these, and Sue Bird and all of them, all the way back to Lisa Leslie. They deserve this kind of coverage. But you know who's gotten coverage in the WNBA? Diana Taurasi, lighter-skinned woman. Sue Bird, lighter-skinned woman. Rebecca Lobo, lighter-skinned woman. And why am I forgetting? Becky Hammond, lighter-skinned woman, right? They've always given a lot of media coverage to these lighter-skinned women. So I do believe that that the women in the WNBA should be upset by the way the media coverage has been towards Caitlin Clark. But I don't think you take it out on Caitlin Clark, because then it comes off as this antagonistic, we're going to take it out on you because you're the white girl coming in, getting all this media coverage. Why ain't it coming to us, right? I do think they should band together and attack where it's coming from, the media, and not attack. I feel like Caitlin Clark is getting a lot of flack for shit she's in no control of herself.
I see both sides of the argument. I really do. I do feel more that it's media driven in terms of the media is over covering Caitlin Clark more than anything, which I see it as this. Because they're over covering Caitlin Clark, the other woman is like, well, y'all want to cover this woman, let's give you something to cover. And the WNBA has always been this aggressive. I get it. WNBA has always been this aggressive. My problem with everything with the whole Caitlin Clark thing is, where are your teammates? Your teammates are, every time you get knocked out, I don't see none of her teammates running up. All I see them, they're coming to check on them. And that's it. And it's just that's primarily my issue, because granted, she's bringing a lot of eyes and ears to the product, and it's cool. I get it. There's a lot of media, and let's be for real. Let's not act like we were on this show giving the WNBA so much coverage, right?
Not saying we wasn't watching, because we were.
Right, we were watching, but we weren't giving the WNBA the coverage that it deserved to give. But at the same time, it's like
facts, D1.
Like, yo, like, D1 said this too. The media found their female Larry Bird was a female LeBron social media presence. But then that also goes into what Peter said, and you said as well, in terms of the great white hope argument. And I do
which
think,
is the media type. That media,
but I feel like nobody the media is pushing that narrative. And what Pete said is not completely wrong when it makes the media is making the woman of color in the league now look like angry black women.
Angry black women. That's and we're not going to support that. That is not the truth.
And we're not supporting that narrative at all.
No, but I also say that the fact that a lot of the women in the WNBA are treating Caitlin Clark the way that they are, and with the microscope being on the WNBA the way that it is right now, it unintentionally is feeding into that white media fuel narrative of the black woman being the angry, petty black woman in the WNBA.
And jealous.
I don't want that, right? I don't want that to continue to be the narrative. And they're going to spin this to be that. And unfortunately, the women that are out here, like Jamel Hill, who are out here saying that that's not the case, continuously get drowned out.
Yeah.
But you say that, but then again, what started a lot of this the women in the WNBA, because the narrative wasn't the angry black women at first. It was the women in the WNBA are jealous with her. When it started with the Diana Taurasi shit. She said, when it was Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi said it's going to be a reality check when she get here, it was more of like, okay, well,
because Sue and Diana know. Sue and Diana know from first.
So that was the precursor. That was the warning. It gets rough. You're not going to have, like, again, you really did not see that good coverage on Caitlin Clark in the NCAA, because they're largely playing press and they're playing zone press. So there's nobody up in her chest like that. The only one I've ever seen do that was Raven, and in the championship game. And when she did that, she held her down. She didn't score like that in the second half. So again, now you're seeing coverage. You're seeing real defense on her. And now it's being covered as they're being rough with her, and that they're overly aggressive because they're jealous, they're petty. No, Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi told you it's levels to this shit. They're not gonna hold you like they're supposed to hold you in the NCAA. They're gonna lock your ass up like Raven did. Raven locked her ass up. She didn't do much. Granted, she had her numbers, but she had her numbers in the first half when she went off. But that second half, boy, she was on Rikers Island, bro. She wasn't doing nothing.
And personally speaking, I'm never gonna sit here and whine and complain about solid, tough defense, because I'm a big proponent of solid, tough defense. But the same way we can sit back and look at what Lambeer and Mahorn and all of them were doing to MJ, and the same way we look at the way a lot of players on the Celtics were treating players on the Lakers and vice versa, and a lot of that unnecessary stuff. That's the stuff I don't want to see, right? I had no problem with the way that anybody's been playing Caitlin Clark in the beginning of the WNBA season at all. The only play I've ever had a problem with was the Kennedy Carter play, because again, this woman did not have the ball in her hands. This woman did not have the ball in play. This woman was waiting for an inbounds pass. The ball hadn't even left the inbounder's fingers yet. and you shoulder check this girl. It's like a defensive back leveling a wide receiver who hasn't even caught the ball yet.
And I loved every bit of it. It's called this. It's basketball. It's basketball, bro. And what a lot of people get misconstrued, and I played basketball. So I know all the mind games. I know all the tricks of the trade. Yo, it is what it is. It's not a racial thing. It's not a jealousy thing. It's I'm coming for your neck. This is a game that everybody circled. They wanted to see Chicago versus Indiana because they wanted Andrew Reese versus Caitlin Clark. Chicago, if anybody's because not a lot of coverage has been on the Chicago Sky since the season started. They've been solely focusing on Indiana and Las Vegas, right? Angel Reese and Chicago Skies, they've been playing like this. They've been playing like this. So I'm not shocked that it went the way that it went. Because, again, everybody's playing this Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese thing. They're really trying to create this Magic versus Larry Bird narrative in the women's sport. And that's just what it was. So it's looked at as a rivalry game.
Which
So the media
why they're doing that because they want something to give the WNBA juice.
Yep. I do agree with that. But as the season goes on, we'll continue to, have coverage. We will, because the WNBA has been phenomenal this season. Shout out to the New York Liberty. Their team is still a stacked team. People don't care what nobody say. But moving on from the W, because I want to say no, we can get into it now. So the NBA Finals is set. Dallas versus Boston.
Whoa,
right?
Hold up.
No. I sat down. I'll let y'all talk.
I need something.
Let me host. Let me host.
All right, as long as I get what I need. Pause.
What are you asking for, Matt?
I want an apology for Kyrie Irving. I need it.
No.
Yes. Yup.
Can I lead up to that, please?
Why there ain't no Chinese store open, man? I've been walking forever.
Anyway, Dallas versus Boston. But the primary thing that people are talking about is what Matt mentioned, is that Kyrie Irving, since leaving LeBron James, has been scrutinized. Some of it by his own hand, some of it the media creating stuff out of nothing. Pete, I'll start it with you. Does the media owe Kyrie Irving an apology?
Depends what you're apologizing for. If you're over here demonstratizing Kyrie Irving for how he plays on the court, for his abilities on the court, for his abilities as a point guard or a championship caliber player, yeah, if that's what you're demonstratizing him for, yes, of course. He can't do this, he can't do that, right? I'm not going to give Kyrie Irving an apology because, again, I've never sat here and bashed Kyrie Irving for his play. I bashed Kyrie Irving for how he handles himself as a professional and as a person, right? At the end of the day, I don't owe Kyrie Irving an apology because I feel like the way he handled himself and the way he handled his exit, granted, there were extenuating circumstances with his exit in Boston, the way he handled his time in Brooklyn and his exit from Brooklyn. I feel like all of that was not handled to the level that I would want a professional to handle himself. And I would have said that about Kyrie Irving or any other player. In terms of his ability as a player, I've always said Kyrie Irving is an elite level player, is a championship level player. Now, has he shown the ability to win championships outside of his time in Cleveland with LeBron James? It was very tenuous. We got to see what he does now, right? Now you have Luka Doncic, you have Kyrie Irving leading the show. If they beat the Boston Celtics, and what I can only imagine will be a hostile environment, especially in Boston for Kyrie.
Hostile is the nicest way we can put it.
He did step on the Irish dude.
Right. Yeah. To me,
I would have too.
Yeah.
That's the thing. To me, It's the way that Kyrie handles himself and carries himself in situations. And I said the same things about, listen, I've said the same things about Kyrie Irving that I've said about Terrell Owens, that I said about Odell Beckham Jr., that I've said about Keyshawn Johnson back in the day, that I've said about a number of athletes in a number of different positions. Hell, I said it about Tim Anderson in Major League Baseball.
Tim Anderson need to get punched in his mouth every day.
He should have been got
every day.
That is bad
every day.
That tweet.
Every day.
Do not do that. Do not compare
Tim Anderson need to get
damn Kyrie Irving.
Tim Anderson need to be fought every day,
especially for getting his ass beat as much as he did.
Right.
To me, it's the professionalism and the way you handle yourselves. I think if Kyrie Irving it wins another championship, unfortunately, what's going to happen is they're going to say, "Well, he needed Luka." You know that how the media is going to.
Luka needed him, just like LeBron needed him.
No, but he's right. No, but Peter's right.
He's right. But that's what I'm saying. That's why. This is why motherfuckers need to give Kyrie Irving a goddamn apology.
But continue on, Pete.
But yeah, no. In terms of his play, listen. If you were out here demonstrizing him for his ability as a point guard, his ability to play, all that stuff, yes, you owe him an apology. I don't owe him an apology because I question his ability as a team leader when he is the sole voice in the locker room.
Apologize to him for that.
And or his professionalism and the way he handles himself as a person off the court that then bleeds on the court.
Matt.
Well, you already named one of the things that I want motherfuckers to apologize to him for. He's not a good leader, because y'all blamed him for Boston. He's not capable of leading. He's stupid. He does not make sense. Y'all attacked him for everything other than what is the most important when it comes to Kyrie Irving, and that is what he is capable of doing on the court. I've even heard motherfuckers really argue and debate with me that he is not the most skillful player in the league. I'm sick of it. I've been arguing about Kyrie Irving for like the last 4 or 5 years. Sick of it. I'm sick of it. Why does it take him going to Dallas, him joining up with Luka? Luka's also a really good player, really, really good player. I've been arguing about Luka too because I've been told that he was overrated. Yeah, jury's out on that one. But yeah, I've been hearing that Kyrie can't do nothing without LeBron. What has he done without LeBron? Like, the narratives that's been circled around Kyrie is unfair. It started because he decided to tell people he wanted out of Cleveland because he did not want to be in LeBron's shadow. And just like always, because there's so many Bron-sexuals in the media, it started on a let's shit on Kyrie Irving's name campaign. And I don't sign up for it. I never did sign up for it. Now the same motherfuckers that were ashy knee nut hugging LeBron, defending him and shitting on Kyrie Irving, now it's, we ain't got nothing bad to say about him now. Why? Well, because he's shutting the fuck up and he's playing basketball. What the fuck does that mean? He shut it up and was playing basketball everywhere he went, and y'all still was shitting on him. About the earth being flat, that was really something to fucking talk about? That was really something to shit on him about? This is what I'm talking about. Like, him not being a leader, why? Because he was injured in Boston? Come on. Now, how poetic would it be? How poetic would it be for him to win a championship in Dallas against that very same team that started all of this bullshit? The man is owed apology. He's owed an apology because nobody had on their bingo card Dallas making it to the fucking finals, much less winning the championship. So yes, he's owed a fucking apology. For all the people that said he's not a leader, for all the people that said he's not capable of winning, for all the people that said that his skill was overrated, he's owed an apology. Why? Because y'all focus on stupid shit. It wasn't his fault that Brooklyn ended the way that it ended. That was a pissing contest. Joe Tsai should have gave him his fucking money. Let's be realistic. He didn't play games. Why? Because of a fucking pandemic. Because of the order that was over New York that said if you didn't get your vaccination, you were not allowed to play. That's not his fault. He's standing on his fucking beliefs. How are y'all going to shit on somebody that is standing on his beliefs? And look at how that turned around. So yes, the man is owed an apology. And I'm not standing with this whole we gonna shit on him shit because he decided up 10 years ago he don't want to play with LeBron no more because he wanted his own path. So yeah, give that man an apology. He deserves it.
I mean, it's his first time, 7 years since he's been in the finals, right? He left Cleveland and he goes to Boston, and he was expected to be the missing piece to the Boston puzzle at that point. And that blew up. I mean, I remember when Kyrie said he wants his number to be hanging in the rafters. He wanted his number 11 to be hanging in the rafters of the TD Garden. And then everything just went really downhill really, really fast. Went to Brooklyn, which was an unmitigated disaster in Brooklyn.
Not because of him.
And I'm not even going to hold you for the vaccination thing. Listen, that's.
But it's more than just the vaccination shit. It was the anti-Semitic shit. Like, come on, bro. A whole bunch of shit that had nothing to do with nothing. Nothing to do with nothing.
You have to remember, unfortunately, that when you are a professional athlete, you represent the organization, right? Okay, you represent the organization, and the things that you do publicly, especially in today's day and age of social media, okay, things that you do privately are public because nobody knows how to move silently anymore. Nobody knows how to move quietly. Nobody knows how to do things quietly and privately, right? So you go on Twitter and you repost this thing, right? You don't look at it and say, maybe, you know what? You listen, I'm going to say, we said this about Harrison Butker, right? Believe what you want to believe. I can believe it, not believe it, or be completely indifferent to it, right? You want to be anti-LGBTQ plus in 2024? Listen, by all means, live your own life. Have your own beliefs. I'm not going to associate with you. I'm not going to share in your beliefs, but go ahead. Go on, young man. Do what you want to do, right? Kyrie Irving made a choice to publicly pronounce this thing. And unfortunately, it flew in the face of a public league. It flew in the face of a public team that now has to worry about sponsor money, donor money, political connections, all of these different things, right? And you were asked, hey, apologize, this and this and this. And he doubled down. And he doubled down on it, gave an excuse.
So why couldn't he get respect for standing on what he believed?
It was not again. So here's the thing. If you're about to cost my organization, okay, you're under contract with my organization, and your beliefs that you are now espousing publicly are going to cost me millions of dollars in contributions, sponsorships, contracts. Players don't want to play for my team. People don't want to give money to my team. People don't want to do this. We can't get this. We can't get that because of you. Then you'd have no problem with me releasing you, right? Believe what you want to believe. But guess what? We cannot be associated with you because it's going to affect us in a larger public political platform.
And in a competitive platform where they're not worth shit now because you wanted to be in a pissing contest and then you let 3 of your fucking stars go. So now you're in the wasteland of the league right now.
We weren't worth shit anyway with them. That's
not true. That's not true.
So
if Kyrie Irving doesn't sprain his ankle, James Harden doesn't fuck his hamstring up, they are winning the championship.
And you know what I'm hearing?
Let's be 100.
If Ben Simmons is healthy, if KD is healthy,
we're not talking about Ben Simmons. This is before Ben Simmons got there. Remember, Ben Simmons got on the team because of the James Harden trade. I'm talking about before that. Pissing contest. Again, they would have signed their contracts if Joe Tsai wasn't trying to have a pissing contest.
Let's take it off of Kyrie Irving, Matt. Let me ask you a question. Let's go back to, let's take it to something a lot more egregious, right? I don't know if any of you have watched the Peacock documentary on the 1990 New York Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, I ain't seen it yet.
Okay. Well, if you've never heard this story, there was a Yankee in 1990 by the name of Mel Hall.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mel Hall was dating a 16-year-old girl while a member of the New York Yankees. Okay. And everybody knew about it. Now let's transpose that to 2024. Okay. What do you think happens when that becomes public knowledge? Yo, this guy is dating an underage girl. And the team says, we're going to keep him on the team. Everything's okay. We're not going to condemn it.
I don't like the comparison.
But
I need a better comparison. That's a horrible comparison. You talking about something that's literally like illegal. It's a law. Molestation.
Again, my issue is with this. Believe what you want. Okay. If the Kansas City Chiefs decide to release Harrison Butker because donors and sponsors have reached out to them and said, we can no longer be associated with you because you keeping this person on your team after the inflammatory marks that they said
yes.
in a business sense, by you keeping this person on your team says that you're okay with what this person said. So we can no longer sponsor you. Hey, that $15 million sponsorship deal that we had with your team, we have to pull out of that. Hey, that $10 million sponsorship deal. Hey, this money that we were going to give you. Hey, this, hey, that, hey, boom, hey, boom. And all of a sudden, the Kansas City Chiefs are like, yo, we stand to lose X amount of money because of this person's inflammatory remarks. What do you do? Do you say, hey, man, we're going to defend you and lose X amount of money? Mm-hmm. Or, hey, listen, believe what you want to believe. That's not our case. But at the end of the day, the fact that you espouse this publicly in an age of social media, in an age where unless you move in complete silence, everything is public, you are now affecting us on a larger scale. And we need you to not. So at the end of the day, what do? Again, believe what you want to believe, young man. I have no issues with Kyrie Irving believing what he wants to believe. I don't have to agree with it. That is the beauty of being an individual and living in this country. And I don't even want to talk about living in this country. Just being an individual, being a human being. Dre believes things, Matt believes things that I don't believe. But that doesn't mean I hate these men for it. Believe what you want to believe, young man.
I love you too, man.
But if Dre and Matt believed in something that was all of a sudden costing me as a person financial or personal strife and issues, I might have to disassociate because I'm like, yo, I can't let this affect me. And we see this in every single thing in the world.
But Pete, how is Dallas benefiting off of it?
So before we move forward from that, we have a special guest that wants to comment on this from Backstage Brawl. People champ Stu, who was just in the comments. So what's going on, Stu?
Yeah, what's going on?
Stu?
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah. Yes, but close your windows so we can hear you.
My windows are closed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my windows are closed, but I just want to be very clear in terms of what Peter said, because I get both sides of the argument. But here's where I stand by. Here's where I stand with Matt on this point. Where it really got bad for Kyrie in Brooklyn, unfortunately, was after the year they got swept. They made him go on that ridiculously unapology tour that really wasn't much of his fault. He just shared a link to a story that he felt for him that he wanted to share with people that would empathize with whatever the story it was. Whether you agree with it or whatever spectrum you're on it, look, it was unnecessary for him to be penalized for it. It was unnecessary for him to be, having that whole apology tour just to play basketball again which led him to go to Dallas. That's one. Two.
And then the low ball.
Like I said in my article on the sports hit list that posted like about a week or two back about Kyrie. Some of it, a good bunch of it, was self-inflicted on Kyrie's behalf. However, what I felt like where the media does owe Kyrie an apology is the fact that they continue to hold those things against him. And even when he was past all that, especially the last year in Brooklyn, he seemed to somewhat turn the corner. But unfortunately, again, that link fucked up any type of opportunity that he had to sustain himself. He wanted to stay in Brooklyn in terms of the money management. It was difficult for them to make it work anyway. There were a lot of negatives on Kyrie that he definitely did cause. How he handled the Steve Nash situation is something that I do think that they do hold in regard, but not as much as the off the court stuff, which at times is unfair to Kyrie. And I've said that in my article. Now, Pete, I understand in terms of like, your analogies, some of it which did suck because it did not apply to Kyrie's situation because he for one, he never really came out and was derogatory with anyone outside of the behavior towards Steve Nash and Josiah, which he admitted to himself that he had a hand in that. Now, whereas, you feel that, it depends on what, the media should be apologetic about. No, they should be apologetic in terms of how they treated him. Now, it is a fair assessment, the fact that he does warrant an apology, because it was never about necessarily the attributes of his game. It was the stuff that was outside of the court. Now, granted, some of it was merited, some of it, warranted the criticism. But at the same time, I do feel that the media played a part in driving it to a part where even when Kyrie did something right or somewhat remotely questionable, it hypersensitized everything because it's just Kyrie. He just keeps doing this. And it led to a lot. And it's unfortunate, bro.
Listen, I don't disagree with that. But as I said in our private chat, my issue was, you also got to know your environment. You are in Brooklyn. Listen, this ain't Jersey. Brooklyn is a heavy Jewish market, and there's a lot of heavy Jewish money, especially in terms of sponsorships and donations and board placement and all that other stuff in that area. They're especially in a very heavy Jewish community in Brooklyn, and you got to be smarter with what you do and how you interact with certain things. Listen, if they were still in Jersey and he had shared something that had anti-Italian views, Jersey would have exploded in an issue as well, because it's like, yo, now you're perceived as anti-Italian in a major Italian market. And so you just got, my issue was, you got to be smarter with it. You got to, again, in the age of social media, you're sharing something.
Hold on, Pete. Even if he was smarter with it, and it's not to be controversial, and it's not to be controversial or anything, but my thing is, even if he was smarter with it, I ask you this one question. Who is currently the NBA commissioner as we speak?
Adam Silver.
And judging by his last name, what would you think his denomination is?
I don't know. I don't judge people based on their names.
Nah, he's Jewish.
I understand that, but
Adam Silver is
let's
very Jewish.
Come on, let's use context clues here because Matt knows where I'm going with this.
Yeah, he's Jewish.
I rest my case.
Possibly.
No. Understand. Regardless whether whoever is right or wrong in the situation, understand regardless of if you're right in the situation or wrong in the situation, who still controls the narrative. And from that, Kyrie would never stand a chance, even if he's in the right. And by that merit, he does deserve an apology from the media, because at times they have overblown.
David Stern was Jewish. I just looked it up, but David Stern was Jewish.
Again,
but
you're furthering my point.
I get what you're saying.
You're furthering my point.
Hold on, guys, because I needed. Can I get a chance to speak? Because I know you guys.
Listen, it's your birthday week, dog. It's your show.
I just need a chance to speak, right? And then you guys go crazy again. But think about the Kyrie Irving situation. The media absolutely owes him an apology. We're all in agreement with that.
And Josiah.
For whatever particular reason, the media owes him an apology. There's a couple of reasons why. One, since leaving LeBron, yes, Kyrie, in a sense, has controlled his own narrative, but let's be completely fair. Not all of the narrative that was spoken about him has been completely true. The same media that we've given LeBron about him being a great father, Kyrie Irving has been a great father. The same media that we've given LeBron about helping in communities, Kyrie Irving, especially when he was in Brooklyn,
That's
has been given to communities.
Even to that particular community.
Right, even to that particular community.
talk your shit, Dre. Talk your shit.
To also jump on Pete's point about Kyrie needing to be smarter. Yes, Kyrie needed to be smarter about what he said in the sense that he said it. We also know we're in a hypersensitive time right now where everything that is said, everything that is posted is looked at with a fine tune, like magnifying glass. People are looking right at it, and people were deciphering or trying to figure it out. Because let's be for real, Kyrie Irving moves to the beat of his own drum, and people don't like that. People don't like it. So people are gonna look for every other reason besides that to find a reason to
not like him,
to get
like
on
Kevin
to
Durant.
not like him.
Like
now,
Kevin Durant.
No, we're not gonna add Kevin Durant in here. This has nothing to do with this man. There's plenty. There's other reasons why we don't like Kevin Durant.
To be fair,
but
KD threw that man under the bus quite a few times.
Hey.
Yes, during that time, it doesn't help when your teammates also throw you under the bus too.
He threw that nigga under the bus.
But I think the point of it is with everything with Kyrie, it has to come back to what he does on court. And when Kyrie is on the court, and when Kyrie is focused and playing well, Kyrie Irving is one of the most dynamic players in the league. Kyrie Irving can easily be top 5 in the league when he's on the court and he's focused on playing basketball.
Damn, I want you to say that again.
There have been times, though, he has not been focused on playing basketball. And, the flip side to him being sitting down, having to sit due to the COVID restrictions are also, we're going to flip it back to the times where he did not want to participate in the bubble, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's also took personal time when his team has needed him for extended absences as well. So it goes back to the argument of this isn't all on Kyrie, but Kyrie also has to take some of the blame for some of the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, and basically, but first, to my point is because from what it felt from Pete's perspective, it felt like like Kyrie from that standpoint has an irredeemable quality about himself, and I that's where I kind of disagreed, and the reason why I wanted to come on, because it was kind of like what I wrote in the article about a sports hit list in terms of like the media owing Kyrie an apology. I wrote it from the perspective of me and Kyrie are the same age, it's only 6 months apart. So I'm like, let's flash forward to 2017. He's 25 years old, and people think, and like you're on top of the world. You got a championship. You're playing with the best player, but at the same time, like you got people in your ear, like, yeah, you could do your own thing, and be the best player. This, that, and the third, and that's what happened. That's what it got into his head a little bit, and then of course the Paul George situation, and I also wrote an antidote. Again, Rob's my favorite player, but he also had a part in why Kyrie left Cleveland. In terms of trying to trade for Paul George for Kyrie. So LeBron does have some culpability in that as well, which led to that. But also Kyrie thinking that at times he knew it all. He tried to have that young Kobe type of arrogance about himself, not knowing, seeing from the forest from the trees. That also done him in Boston, parts of his tenure in Brooklyn. And I do think some of that, him falling on his ass a few times kind of humbled him. And that time away from the game, whether it's from the COVID situation or the Jewish situation, I think it did kind of like made him reflect in terms of some of his own actions, and to be like, all right, cool. Like I kind of see where I fucked up. I kind of see where I could have been a better leader here in Boston, or how I could have been a better player or more available when I was in Brooklyn. I could have treated Steve Nash a hell of a lot better than I did before. Like those things do factor. And what you see now in Dallas for Kyrie is a matter of him just being he's in a situation pretty much where he was in Cleveland, where you had a former NBA champion of a coach, because Ty Lue was an NBA champion twice over with the Lakers, with a coach, with a player who could give you points, rebounds, and assists, and completely lead a team. And that's who Luka Doncic is. That's why he's been able to kind of come back and look like the Kyrie that we wanted to see. Not the Kyrie in Brooklyn, where he was with KD and kind of wanted this, fiction of a reality that he wanted, which imploded, partially due to his reasoning, due to his undoing. So like him in Dallas right now, he's playing comfortably for the first time in a while, because it's like, yo, I've been here before. It was like this with LeBron. And he said it before. He's like, yo, if I was with LeBron, like, yo, things would be different. This and the third. He has that opportunity now with Luka. This is his redemption arc with a player with similar skill set, minus the athleticism that LeBron has, but the same IQ, the same similar play style, but in a system in Dallas where Mark Cuban is going to basically say, all right, you want this? I got that for you. Josiah wasn't going to be willing to do that. And part of that was part of Kyrie thinking that he was the LeBron, or he was like a KD figure with a Rich Kleiman as his representation. So once Kyrie kind of like humbled himself and kind of realized, all right, I got to refocus in terms of who I am and just focus on ball. That's where you saw the Kyrie that we all love come back out. And I do think because of that, he deserves grace, and he does deserve that apology.
Right. So, Peter, I want to give you the final word before we move on. Go ahead, because I cut you. I know you was making a point before.
No, you good. Listen, Kyrie's ability on the court, to me, was never in question. His ability as a player was never in question. And Randy just really put it together in a nice little thing. When Kyrie is focused simply on being the Kyrie Irving, the basketball player, and not on other stuff, he is deadly. He's a top 5, if not top 10 point guard in the league. He is an incredible scorer. He's done all these great things. Like, there's never been a doubt about that. And that is why Boston wanted him, because they thought that Kyrie would lead them back to prominence. That is why Dallas was willing to take him in, because they felt like he still got a lot of basketball left. It's why
and he does.
Brooklyn, even with all of the headaches that happened in Brooklyn, still kept trying to get something out of him, because they felt, okay, there's something here when this guy just, plays basketball. We have one of the elite point guards in basketball. But I do want to just quickly, Randy kind of made this point, kind of almost pointing to the fact, like, well, Adam Silver's a Jewish commissioner, and so he did what he had to do as a Jewish man and things like that, whatever, for comments, about his community. Last I checked, Bud Selig is neither gay, black, or foreign. And God rest his soul,
He's not Bud Selig, though. He's not Bud Selig.
But Bud Selig dropped a hammer on John Rocker when John Rocker made disparaging comments about African-American, foreign, and gay individuals in America. In fact, the statement that Bud Selig said was, quote, Major League Baseball takes seriously its role as an American institution and the important social responsibility that goes with it. We will not dodge our responsibility. Mr. Rocker should understand that his remarks offended practically every element of society and brought dishonor to himself, the Atlanta Braves, and Major League Baseball. At the end of the day, this was in 2000.
I love that you said that. Continue. Ooh,
right?
I love that you said that.
Social media didn't exist back then. And while Kyrie may not have personally said something anti-Semitic, while he personally did not basically instigate an action of his own person that was anti-Semitic, in the world of social media in 2020, whatever, the things that you do online are looked at as the things that personify you. So I may never say anything, right? But if I retweet things that Donald Trump tweets out, or I retweet things that somebody who has said racist things or things that may be perceived as it. If I were to retweet something like that, all of a sudden I would be perceived as having the same belief systems as those people. And so because there were issues and comments within the video or the movie that Kyrie Irving retweeted the link for, people looked at it and said, well, if you're retweeting this, that means that you're agreeing with it, which means since it has anti-Semitic views, you must also be anti-Semitic. And that's how the world of social media and the 2020s work. And again, to me, it's just a matter of you have a social responsibility as an athlete to understand the world around you. And again, believe what you want to believe, young man. Live your life how you want to live your life. But when it crosses over into the world of the social world seeing it, you are now costing your team. You are now costing your organization. You are now costing the league issues that they have to deal with. And at the end of the day, that was the bigger problem. I have no listen.
Like
Finish.
I like
hold on. Let me finish. Go ahead.
No, I mean, like, again, does the media deserve to give Kyrie an apology for how they treated him as a basketball player, for how they treated him as a leader, for the fact that they continue to harp on things to sell headlines and to sell papers? Yes, of course. But we also know that's just what the media does. The media is never going to let anything die. Something could happen today, and 5 years from now, you could do something that is somehow slightly related to that thing that happened 5 years ago. And all of a sudden, the media is going to do. That's just what the media does nowadays. It's inflammatory media. You know, it's clickbait media. So yes, all of that, they took it too far. But at the end of the day, again, my issue with Kyrie was always you need to understand your role as an athlete also means you have a social responsibility as a social citizen, and your responsibility to the league to also uphold, certain, they have to uphold certain viewpoints. And again, it was the minute that it started messing with money, the minute that, the Jewish community came out not only to the Brooklyn Nets, but to the NBA and to all the other things saying, hey, if he doesn't apologize to this, we're going to withhold money and we're going to protest the league and we're going to do this, we're going to do that. That's when the NBA turned around and said, hey, you need to apologize for this. You need to go deal with this because now you're costing us image. You're costing us money. That was the thing.
You saw how quick it took place, right? You saw how quick it all happened. Now, I will say this, to kind of close this subject, because I know you guys got to move on in terms of a different topic. It kind of might lead into it anyway. I never try to accuse Adam Silver in terms of whatever, like in terms of the Jewish aspect of who he is, kind of like influences on a third. It's just basically what general media does run. From the general media aspect, let's be frank, that aspect does run a lot of the media and the narratives. Now, Adam Silver has always been a progressive individual in terms of what he's able to do for the NBA and how it's helped, much like Bud Selig when you put that antidote. However, when it comes to baseball, the one thing I kind of say bullshit on is that if that was the case, it wouldn't have taken over 100 years for what they did this week and adding the Negro League stats to the MLB stats.
Woo, agree. We covered that. We covered that on.
I know. I saw that episode.
I covered that on the Dog Days Baseball.
And I ain't go front. I had a beef with one of your guys because it was like, yo, man, it's like for me, I felt like because of them being kept out of MLB, and when they did do those crossovers, they got their ass kicked by those guys from the Negro Leagues, and they showed you like, yo, we can ball. If he was in the league, Josh Gibson would be the only guy with 800 home runs if they actually counted, and all the other stats. Mm-hmm. So. Like, to have a difference of opinion, and to have even type of a slight disagreement about it kind of enraged me when I saw the episode the other day. I just wanted to make that antidote.
And it took a global pandemic, and that was the thing. That's what I mentioned. It took a global pandemic that shortened the MLB season to 60 games, and them saying, well, hold on. Are we going to count those 60 game statistics? And that's when it was like, well, if we're going to count those, we can count a Negro League season that was 55 games, or we can count a Negro League season that was 80 games. It took a worldwide pandemic that forcefully shortened the season to 60 games for them to say, well, if we're going to count those stats, because we want to be able to count the stats of today's major league players, we're going to count those.
There was enough evidence there was enough evidence.
So that actually moves on. That actually moves on to the next topic. We're gonna get back to the finals shortly. The Negro League stats now being included. So I kind of, well, you guys put it out on the Dog Days of Baseball podcast, and when I was writing this thing for the show, like, it's really a good question. How does this change your perception of who is the greatest of all time in baseball now that these stats are now included into everybody's stats? Stu, I'm gonna start with you.
Wait, what was the question? My fault. I was just walking.
So the question is, now that the Negro League stats are integrated in the overall MLB stats, how does this change how people look at the greatest of all time?
I think it should be checked into. I think the idea of Babe Ruth and all the other stuff, like, Ted Williams and all these other guys, I think it opens up a different conversation, opens up Pandora's box.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like it's about time that they do that, because it's like baseball. Baseball is such a very intricate sport, and for it to be kind of like, taken away from its history, I feel like it's I just feel like it's unfortunate. I feel like, from a standpoint of what the sport can provide in terms of its total history, telling the entire story is important. So I feel like, them adding those stats of that time not only puts a lot of things to bed for the souls that participated in the game, but the families that have come after. And, this gives them something to kind of be proud about in terms of celebrating the stats and celebrating the history of the game, because you can't tell the story without baseball, without the Negro Leagues. And it's very, very crucial, because now, a lot of people that should have been in the league, get their just due in terms of, those numbers being added and those numbers being counted and talked about from a spectrum. And it's very, very inspiring seeing that, because and hopefully it encourages more African Americans to get into baseball as well. Because look, because now it's like, all right, now that we officially, the books is like, they can't keep us out anymore. So now it's I want to make baseball look cool again for people that look like us. So that's just how I feel about it.
I agree with that. Matt, your thoughts on the Negro League stats being integrated, and does this change how people look at the greatest of all time? Some of the greatest of all time.
It's subjective, because like Stu, and pretty much like all of us, I mean, we all have our own personal opinion and our own view on who we deem the greatest. Like, there's some now think Randy Johnson is one of the greatest pitchers ever, but then we integrate the Negro Leagues, and then about Satchel, right? Same thing with Josh Gibson. So it's like, I grew up around a lot of old heads that will give me stories about who they grew up on, and who their grandfathers and their dads always saw was like, we call him. He was him. Like, I heard about Josh Gibson, I've heard about Satchel. So it was like, I'm not like the biggest proponent for baseball. Basketball is my thing, but I've heard these stories. So, like what Stu said, it kind of puts a lot of our ancestors to, bed peacefully about it, because now they're being recognized in the light that they should be recognized. So there's that, but everybody has their own opinion. And me and you, we've never seen these guys play. We just heard folk stories. There's not very much video of anything from the Negro Leagues, if there's any. So, I mean, I think our opinions will pretty much stay the same as to where it's at. But, again, it's more or less for our ancestors. And does it change our minds on who who's recognized as the best, like a Babe Ruth? Probably not. Probably not. It's just it's great for history. It's another win for our ancestors in a sense.
I agree with that. Pete.
I don't. Well, for me, it doesn't ever change my perception on who's the greatest. I just usually have a different take on it. I think generationally, there's always greats for each generation, and it's very different when you're thinking about like the era that Josh Gibson played in versus the era that Aaron Judge is playing in right now versus the era that Willie Mays played in, things like that. I think it always gets a little bit tough. We see that even in the NBA and other sports, it's kind of hard to equate like Jordan's era to LeBron's era to Wilt's era, all that other stuff. It's very tough because it may have been easier or harder to get certain stats or certain things to happen at certain times. But in terms of the inclusion of the Negro League stats, I think it really gives a greater emphasis on like, hey, this happened. Like, this is real. This is not just some urban legend. This is not just a myth. This is not just something we make movies about to kind of tell stories. It reminds me a lot of even like one of my mother's favorite movies, A League of Their Own. When you talk about the women's baseball leagues back during the war.
You see it on Prime Video?
Well, no, one of my mother's favorite movies is the original League of Their Own movie with Madonna and Gina Davis and all of them.
Yeah, they redid it. It's on Prime Video. You got to watch it. Yo. It's dope. I like it.
But like even when you watch that and you're like, oh wait, like this actually happened. Like there was actually an entire league of women that kept baseball alive during the wartime and doing all these different things, which was absolutely incredible to see. And it's incredible for our Black community to be able to see that, because we always just sit here, we talk about, Jackie Robinson, and we talk about Willie Mays, and we talk about, all of these different players. But now when you see the real true depth of it all, it's beautiful. I don't think, again, it does anything for me in terms of the GOAT conversation, because, again, this was a different era, a different time. Things were different in kind of how the game was played. Again, you're talking about like guys who played against a spitball or guys who played against illegal pitches or guys that did this, guys that did that. Like it was a much different era, much different time for baseball. So I'm just glad to see it happen.
Thing, right? Like, I mean, in all reality, like we view. Like I said, I can never sit there and go, oh, Babe Ruth was the greatest, because I've never personally ever seen him play, So I think the GOAT conversation of who's the greatest, everybody's so analytical now and have been probably for in baseball, you have to be analytical. So I think that's like through a test through time thing. They've always been that way. But for the most part, everything is a visual aspect. We're going to always deem our Jesus of sports from a visual. Like, I can't say LeBron's the GOAT because I seen Michael Jordan play. I can't see LeBron as the second greatest because I seen Kobe Bryant play.
Because it's always about who they played against. Because again, you could sit here and say like, you'll always get the Michael Jordan people like, well, the defenses were different. He had to play against this defense. He had to do this. He had to do that. And you're right. Would a guy like LeBron have the same statistics that he has now had he played in Jordan's era? You don't know because you'll never see it. Would a guy like Wilt Chamberlain have been as successful in Jordan's era than he was in his era? You don't know because you'll never see it. And these are the things, would Barry Bonds have been as successful in a different era? Would Willie Mays have been successful if he was in this? It's so hard when you're doing that, when you're trying to cross-generationally do those things because the games were so different. In fact, during Willie Mays' era, there was a large proponent of like playing double headers every weekend. And these guys had opportunities to get statistics, in ways that a lot of, pitching will never be the same, right? Because we can sit here and say Satchel Paige is the greatest pitcher of all time, but if Satchel Paige was around now, Satchel Paige would have been pulled in the 6th inning of every game because they're never going to let him throw more than 100 pitches.
Yeah.
You know, these are guys
Yeah.
who used to throw, I'm going to throw 140 pitches in a 9-inning game. And then 3 days later, I'm going to go out and pitch another 9-inning game and throw another 130 pitches. That would never have happened in today's league.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But you know what? That goes into a different, bigger argument, which we can get to on another show, on why players in all leagues are getting hurt a lot more now than they used to be. Because
Also, quick, think about all the points leaders in basketball. Think about all the guys who never got to shoot a three-pointer, right? How could their stats have been changed, you know, in terms of like –
because imagine Jerry West.
Right.
Being able to be like, oh, well, Jerry West can shoot threes. Oh, word?
Yeah. Jerry West be the logo forever.
Yeah, Jerry West. Yeah, Jerry West would have been the logo just because of Rip.
Right. So think about that. You know, there are a lot of things in sports that are just different because of the eras that they played in.
Real quick question: did they do like the speed test back then in pitches? Because I want to know how fast Willie Mays, not Satchel Paige threw.
That's another thing, right? Because if you're looking at baseball back then, if you're looking at like that, how fast were people pitching? How fast were people pitching? So, but to move on to the next topic, let's go back to the NBA real quick before we get into our final couple topics, which we'll kind of speed through the final couple. The NBA Finals are Dallas Mavericks versus the Boston Celtics. Matt, who do you have winning? Matt will figure itself out in a second. Peter, who do you have winning the NBA Finals?
I've got the Boston Celtics, and it's because of one reason and one reason only.
Okay.
They've got 9 days of rest, and they're more than likely getting back a well-rested and healthy Kristaps Porzingis, which they have not had for the majority of the playoffs, and they've only lost twice. In this entire playoff run, they've only lost 2 games. For the majority of the playoffs, they have not had Kristaps Porzingis, and now they're going in with 9 days of rest.
Yes.
They're going in with 9 days of rest, so Tatum is rested, Brown is rested, Horford is rested, and now you're getting back a likely rested and healthy Porzingis. It's going to be a lot different. I think Dallas did the best thing it could do by ending it in 6 games and not giving Boston more rest. But the fact that Boston was able to sweep the Indiana Pacers, you know, did a lot more for Boston to help them get ready for this finals than I think anything did.
Matt,
what was the question?
Who wins, Boston or Dallas?
This is kind of hard. Pause. If I want to go by roster, I would say Boston is pretty, stacked. They're a deep team. I've been saying it all season long. They're practically the deepest team in the NBA right now. But I feel like Luka does not get to the finals and not go ape shit. Right?
Right.
I feel like Kyrie Irving he's spinning the block on a lot of things and changing his narrative, that like how everybody views him. And we all are witness to what Kyrie Irving is capable of doing in the NBA Finals, especially when he's healthy, right? Because he had 2 bites at the apple early, and the first time he got a bite at the finals, he got injured in game 1. And then when he spun the block and came the second year, he knocked off a 73-9 team with LeBron. So with that being said, I look at matchups. I look at the coaching. I look at the culture. I look at the fans. I look at the story. And I don't see how Dallas does not win this in 7 games.
Okay. I want Dallas in 7.
Right? Yeah.
I really want Dallas in 7. First of all, I would have been a fan of the Boston Celtics if it not had been for the 2008 Boston Celtics. I'd been okay. I'd been okay with Boston getting another one, right? But then again, like I said, the 2008 Celtics make me just completely disregard.
They're annoying. Yeah, they're annoying.
And then
every year, every other week.
As a Kobe fan, yeah, no, we can't have that, right?
Yeah.
But for overall basketball sense, I think the story of Kyrie
and Luka.
But I'm focused on Kyrie real quick, and then I'm gonna get to Luka. Kyrie getting his lick back on the Celtics, because of the media coverage, and like I said, we discussed this really like for half an hour about it. We can see both sides of it. Kyrie was hurt, but there was sometimes he sometimes didn't handle his way the best with them, and the media didn't help that narrative when he was in Boston at all. Because Boston is notoriously racist too.
Very much so.
We're gonna be for real, right?
Yeah.
So, I think the story of Kyrie getting this chip, one without Braun and two over the Celtics, is something that a lot of people want to see, right?
Me, especially.
Yes, especially Matt, because we're not going to hit the end of it if he does. But with Luka would be one of the probably the second international. No. Because Giannis was a leader from overseas. You know what it is? People are looking at Luka are trying to look past Luka as the face of the league, right? They're trying to look past him. They're trying to give it to everybody else but Luka. And realistically, why? Why? Because he's not an American-born player.
And he's an asshole.
Yeah.
He's an asshole. But I love it.
And Edwards is an asshole too.
No, but
with CP3 apparently.
Right.
No,
Chris
but
Paul
CP3
for sure.
CP3 was never looked at as like CP3 used to get at referees. So there's that. But I'm not gonna hold you, bro. Like, I want this because both players, notoriously, I have been defending both players. I've been defending Luka since I want to say the pandemic when they were in the bubble, right? And I don't remember if it was Pete or Tavia. One of y'all said he was overrated. I'm just like, I don't know what y'all are watching. I'm like, yo, Luka is a demon. And Atlanta is going to regret every single day that this man is in the league that they traded him for Trae Young. And I know that they are. I know that they are seeing that right now. I know they are feeling it right now. I've been saying it I've been feeling like he was getting snubbed on MVP votes, all of it. I've been defending it since the bubble. And I feel like it's only poetic justice that these two guys who were looked past, who were scrutinized, who's had shitty raw deals. Luka has been scratching the surface for years. Beating teams like the Clippers, Phoenix, like beating these teams that he shouldn't have been beaten by himself, virtually by himself. To now finally have Kyrie Irving. And because granted, he got Kyrie Irving he got Kyrie Irving half the season last year. And now he has him a full season and they're in the finals. It just is, like I said, it'll be poetic justice. I don't see, but then you look on the other side and then you look at the Celtics, who's also been in the finals and lost to Golden State and have been at the brink for seasons as well. When they got beat by LeBron that year that they had Kyrie Irving on their team and he was injured. When they got duct taped and smoked by Miami twice.
Hold on. Thank you, Matt. That is the most PG way you could have said your normal line. I appreciate you finally finding a way to find a PG way to say it. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I told you I'm a work in progress.
Duct tape and
Yeah, duct tape and smoke, like he said. But
I know he had Jalen. I know he had Jalen Brunson. I know he had Jalen Brunson still. Don't do that. I'm on a roll. I'm on a roll. Let me cook, please. Let me cook. I've been singing Luka's praises for years. I've been arguing this whole he's overrated. He can't shoot free throws, and I've been arguing this for seasons, bro. And for him and Kyrie Irving to both be on the same team, I freaking hate Dallas because I was never a great fan of Dirk. Michael Finley gets on my nerve.
You see how Michael Finley took the beer out of Luka's hand?
Yeah, I don't appreciate that. I don't appreciate that. Exactly. So it's just like I want this for Dallas. I've always been a fan of Mark Cuban. I wish he was in New York. Not gonna lie to you, I choose him over James Dolan any day of the week. But I can't. It's hard. It's real tough to choose between the two. Pause. Because again, Boston has been at the brink for years. They've been at the brink for years with this team. With these two, I feel like the right man got the Larry Bird MVP.
Yo,
me and Dre have been arguing this with everybody for like 3 years too. But it's
Jason Tatum is not.
It's not it.
The guy, bro.
He's not it. We've been saying it for years.
I said this.
Brown.
I said this when they played. I said this when they kept losing to Miami. I said this when they lost to
Golden State.
Jason Tatum is not the guy everyone thinks he is, bro. And they're about to pay him a boatload of money.
$300 million.
Just because I think he is mentioning damn Kobe Bryant every chance he gets. Tired of it. Tired of the light skin privilege, bro.
Pete, I'm really not privy on contract. He's gonna look for like 350, right?
Yeah.
At least 350. And I'm not saying he's not a great player. He's just not. He's not Kobe,
bro.
He's not Kobe. He's just not it. He's not it.
So Pete,
but I'm going with Dallas in 7.
Pete, you have Boston in 7. Well, no,
yeah. Well, I don't have Boston in 7. I have Boston.
You have Boston. How many games?
I think you got a lot of faith in Porzingis that.
You have a lot of faith in Porzingis.
You have a lot of faith in Porzingis.
Here's where I come with that, right? What has been Boston's defense has been suffocating.
Yes.
In fact, Boston's defense is best on what corner threes and what is a lot of Dallas. They're number corner threes. Also, who's holding Porzingis? Because here's the funny thing about it. You know who's the only mobile big man in Dallas? It's Maxi Kleber. And at the end of the day, if you looked at the Oklahoma City series, they allowed Chet Holmgren to hit a lot of pick and pop corner threes simply because they didn't have the big men to guard him. And
Chet Holmgren is a different type of player than Kristaps Porzingis.
I see where he's coming from.
I get where you're coming from.
So here's the thing: are you going to send Daniel Gafford out there? Are you going to send PJ Washington out there to guard Porzingis on a pick and pop three? The thing is going to be, can Dallas's defense really shut down? If Porzingis comes back healthy, can they shut him down?
But that's the question. That's the question.
This is a team. But again, without Porzingis, this is a team that has lost twice in the entire postseason.
Look who they played
without Porzingis.
But look who they played though. They played injury-stricken teams.
You know what? We do this argument a lot, like whether it's 4-hour teams, and
they beat 350-win teams.
The best team that Dallas played was the team they just beat.
They beat 350-win teams, though. You can't.
Wait, hold on. They beat
350-win teams.
They beat the 1 and the 2. Yeah, they beat the 1 and the 2 seed. Did they? Didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah, they beat the Clippers, right?
They beat OKC and then they beat the Timberwolves. They beat the 1 and the 2 seeds.
Yeah, the 1, the 3, and the 2. The 1 to 4. Or the 1 to 5.
No, the 1 and the 2, And
that's what I said. The one.
Phoenix was this.
They didn't play Phoenix.
Yes, they did.
Who?
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't play the Phoenix. They played OKC. They played fucking Minnesota, and then they played they didn't play Denver. They played somebody else.
The fuck is the other two that they played?
I forget.
Oh shit.
Played the Clippers.
The Clippers, yes.
Right.
You know why we can't remember the Clippers, because they always do this. So,
but again, the Clippers, we already knew, that the Clippers were not really a powerhouse team as the number 4. Oklahoma City, we knew was a young team, and we said that if they get past, a lot of people had them as, a little bit of an underdog against the veteran team of Dallas. And then the Timberwolves, again, the reason why the Timberwolves lost is because they had long series against a lot of great teams in this playoffs, and they were tired and exhausted. Cat was exhausted. Anthony Edwards was exhausted, and it came down to the same thing that it's going to come down to in this NBA Finals. Dallas is going in a tired team against a Boston team that got 9 days of rest. And I don't care how, whether we Tatum is him or not, Tatum on 9 days of rest, Jaylen Brown on 9 days of rest, Al Horford on 9 days of rest. That team that has primarily been running through the NBA playoffs, and a possible healthy Kristaps Porzingis coming back is going to stretch this Mavericks team thin.
So with them having, I can agree with that. My only thing is that Dallas will also have a good amount of rest, at least 5 days of rest. And I think the rest that Dallas is getting, that Boston is getting, is going to be detrimental to them more than it will be helpful. So, before we move on to the last topic, Stu, give your opinion. Who's going to win the series? Who's going to win the series, and what's the game going to be?
I have the Celtics. As much as I hate the Celtics, I have them in 6 because of the fact that they're a much complete team than Dallas. And I'm not saying the fact that the duo of Luka and Kyrie can't get it done, but at some point, experience is going to win out because of the fact of Derek White, his coaching under Popovich. Porzingis also knows Luka and a little bit of what J Kidd runs already. So I think that familiarity will help in terms of how they'll factor in the series. I just think that it's time for the Celtics to take their rightful place and become NBA champions. As much as a Knicks fan, it hurts me to say, but Dallas has time. I think they have the right pieces now to kind of make a run, and you already know their offense is gifted enough to weather the storm throughout the West. So, in years to come, as of right now, I got the Celtics winning because of experience. At some point, it has to break through for these guys. It has to be this year. Too much is going right for them. Derek White is the X factor in this series that I don't think Minnesota had previous series because their youth ended up, shitting the bed against the Dallas Mavericks.
And Rudy Gobert being food.
I mean, Rudy Gobert. Look,
it's food.
Look, it is what it is with Rudy. But at the end of the day, they still got to the Western Conference Finals with that team. It's the fact that Rudy was a liability. They should have kept Nasri at those junctures when it came to switching. And at the same time, it was also on, Jaden McDaniels to kind of like take up that challenge to basically do that. But again, that's where Luka used his experience against McDaniels' inexperience, especially at that point in time of the playoffs. The Celtics, again, you're probably one of the more experienced battle-tested teams.
And they're deep.
So, Porzingis is going to come back. You're going to force Lively or Gafford to come out to the perimeter and guard a KP. And the Celtics, they're a perimeter-based heavy team. So, I can't see them losing this series. It's going to be fun to see Kyrie get his get back. But at the same time, Brown and Tatum are older. Drew Holiday is going to be a very important piece in this series.
Because he has to guard him.
Now he's not only just guard Kyrie. I think he'll split time between. I think Derek White and Holiday are going to split time between Luka and Kyrie.
It'll
I
look
think
crazy if
Boston.
they both get dropped off.
My thing is, I think they're
It'll
gonna
look
have the
crazy.
same. I feel like they're gonna have the same plan against the Dallas Mavericks that they had against Brooklyn, where they swarmed
There you go. They're gonna
KD and
swarm.
Kyrie, and they couldn't do
But they
nothing.
have to. If they don't, it's a wrap.
It's a wrap because if Luka gains confidence, and then Kyrie gets hot along with Luka, they are going to be water. They are going to swim through Boston.
They can get hot,
and that's the problem.
They can get hot pretty much how that game one against the Brooklyn Nets in 2022 happened. But in the same token, what's going to boil down to is you got to get a stop. So I trust Dallas getting a stop rather than them two getting off, because at the end of the day, PJ Washington's luck is bound to come, bound to run out in terms of that corner three. And Boston, they switch and they cover very well.
Yeah.
Like they have They half-assed it against a Pacer team that had no business being in the conference finals, and you saw how that happened. Like when they fully locked in, and when it came to guard, like whether it was a Precious, not Precious, when it came to guard any of those guys,
OG.
No, you're talking about
Pascal Siakam, excuse me.
Yeah, Pascal Siakam.
So when it came to guarding Pascal, they did it in time. They kept Miles Turner at bay, who looked like Roy Hibbert with a 3-point jump shot the entire fucking playoff.
Facts.
So they neutralized that. So for them, when Boston is fully locked in, I don't think I can see Dallas beating them 4 times. Now, I always said
the best thing that could happen to Boston was the niggas got hurt and then they got eliminated in that round, because that was like the best team. That team and Minnesota were the only 2 teams that I felt like could have matched up against Boston. So it's like, and gave them a proper battle. Now, I'm not saying Dallas is not going to give them a battle. They will.
It will.
The story like I said, the story, if I'm going with the story, I want Dallas in 7. But I'm going too much with my basketball mind, and it kind of just shows that Boston is going to run through this in 5 or 6 games. I mean, but I'm sticking with Dallas in 7.
Again, you got to also think about that defense. You got to think about that Boston defense. I mean, at the end of the day, the one thing that Dallas has had to its advantage is they've swarmed the rebounding game with Gafford and Lively and Kleber. They've controlled the game on the rebounding side. But Boston has been really good at shutting down second chance opportunities. And Boston, if I'm not mistaken, leads the league right now in the playoffs and leads the playoffs in terms of defensive rebounds per game, especially in the East. Because, I mean, you take out, things like that. And that's going to be a big key as well. Are you going to be able to stop the run and gun of Dallas by maintaining the defensive boards? And are they going to be able to, do anything in sets? Because, again, Dallas's offense is not predicated on a set offense. It's predicated on a moving offense. It's predicated a lot on that
fluidity,
pick and pop flow, run and gun offense.
They run like NBA version of motion. They don't run.
They run mostly motion.
But Pete, my question to you is, what happens to Boston happens like it usually always happens, and they shit the bed, because they do that often. They are a very inconsistent team. This is why I'm saying it's very possible that Dallas could upset this team and win the championship.
If Dallas does upset this team, if Dallas does so, and this is something that I brought up. I think I spoke to Dre about this. My big concern with the Indiana series with Boston was Boston playing with their food, or is that truly what Boston is? And was Indiana really exposing the inefficiencies of the Boston Celtics? And that's going to be the real big key in this NBA Finals, because if Dallas
Boston's playing with their food,
right? If Dallas upsets the Boston Celtics, there's no excuse from Boston. You built this team for one reason.
Yeah.
You built this team for one reason, and it was to get a championship. And you couldn't have lucked into a better situation than going into the Eastern Conference Finals against a hobbled Indiana Pacers team that was playing well above their ceiling and going into the NBA Finals against a Boston Celtics team, a Dallas Mavericks team that many did not expect to be in the finals. If this would have been the Timberwolves, it would have been a big story. If this would have been, again, the Nuggets, a big story. But this is a team that you have a very distinct advantage of in multiple positions on the floor. And if you blow this NBA Finals to the Dallas Mavericks, it's going to go a long way in defining what Boston Celtics basketball has been over the last couple of years.
So, quick
The
anecdote.
Celtics need this more than Dallas does. I'll be very honest with that.
Yes, they do.
Last thing. Go ahead. Go last thing. Because we're about to wrap up. Go ahead.
All right, cool. It's a two-part. One, the Celtics, and my brother wrote this years ago in an article. The Celtics currently right now with their window remind me of what the Yankees are now. Like, if you're in a position to get it done and you finally have the team to do it, where it could parallel this year's Yankees team, you have to get it done. Mm-hmm. Secondly, I don't think the Celtics are going to choke this time necessarily because of the fact that I do believe the fact that, especially more so on Jaylen Brown's side, that he's grown up and he's done enough to showcase the fact that he's ready even when Tatum does shit the bed. Two,
which is often,
Drew Holiday has been the answer to what Marcus Smart couldn't necessarily solve when they had.
That's a fact.
So that because of that, I do believe that experience is going to win out when it matters most. And we've seen Drew Holiday go against Hall of Fame point guards, Chris Paul, and basically take their lunch money in an NBA Finals in order to give their team a distinct advantage with their all-star players, with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And the caveat is, in big moments, there's death, taxes, and a Dominican old man they call Al Horford. You're going to have to expect at least, bare minimum, a 20-point, 10-rebound game out of him in this series.
And that'll be the death blow right there.
That's just Haitian wishing. It's because he's Dominican.
Relax.
Oh, God. But the last topic, this will be a quick fire, quick spitfire topic. Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. The fight has been postponed due to Mike Tyson's health scare about a week ago. So my question to the table, this is more yes or no and a really quick response. So, Matt, should this fight happen at all?
No, I don't want it. I don't want it.
Muhammad Ali would have never backed down from the fight. Howard myself.
Yo.
Going crazy.
Listen, man, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna tell a lie. Like, yo,
Stu, you gotta relax.
Steve, please save us. Should this fight happen at all? Yes or no?
And they say I gotta relax.
Pete, go.
I just said it. If this was Muhammad Ali, this fight would happen. Tyson's a fuck. He's not as good as Ali.
Oh, God.
Ain't no old circle. No, I mean, listen. No, the fight should not happen because I am finally aboard the train. This is nothing more than a publicity stunt. At the end of the day, there's no reason why Mike Tyson should not knock out Jake Paul. And under the ridiculous contracts that we were hearing about how he can't technically knock him out, he can't this, he can't that. If all of that is true, this fight should not happen. If this fight is going to be real and you're going to allow Tyson to fight, please, yes, because I want to see him destroy Jake Paul.
I'm more so in line with Pete, but at the end of the day, it shouldn't happen. Jake Paul does not need Mike Tyson to boost him, and Mike Tyson doesn't have anything to prove at this point. Now, do I want to see him knock him the hell out? Of course. But, Mike Tyson is bordering on 60. Jake Paul is, he's doing this to basically up his game or up his social media portfolio, up his ranking in boxing, which his version of boxing is more so WWE at this point,
Sure.
And look,
there's always Deontay Wilder.
Huh?
There's always Deontay Wilder. He needs to fight now, especially after he get knocked out the other.
At this point, it feels
He got
like
knocked out
everybody can knock out Deontay Wilder.
He got knocked the fuck out, boy. It was bad in the 5th round. and got up like, yo, what happened?
I ain't gonna lie. I think the downfall for Deontay came when he knew he had Fury beat, and then like he just kept embarrassing himself the last two fights, and it was just
the downfall is when he got rid of his trainer. That's what his downfall was.
But yeah, that's all for the Yerrr Sports Show this week. Shout out to Stu, aka the People's Champ Randy of the Backstage Brawl, which is shown on the Sports Hit List every Saturday, live at 1 p.m.
Color People Time.
Color People Time, 1 p.m. They run on the same time we do. You can follow him on all his social media platforms, on the Backstage Brawl, and his personal one. His name is King underscore. His name is King, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah. On IG, I think, and on Twitter, it's like 2 underscores. I forget.
Yeah, two underscores. So, shout out to them. Shout out to everything that they're doing over there. I know Nat go over there, so we do a lot of cross promoting with each other. So
I got the by the way, the finals article for the Celtics and Mavericks from the Sports Hit List will be dropping this week, courtesy of you boys. So I'll be dropping some wrestling and basketball articles. So
he writes a lot of great articles.
I'm supposed to go backstage yesterday.
We're gonna get it done. Speak to what I was gonna say. He does a lot of great articles. Please read them and support. As he supports us as well. Shout out to the Job Chase Network. Shout out to the Job Chase Podcast, of course. Drop and Slam is coming up August 24th. As you now know, the new main event of the show is Alex Kane, leader of Boombaye Fight Club, versus the leader of Jobatier South, the gifted one, Yaya. That should be a great match. The event should be amazing. Us at the shop will be doing a live pre-show with a lot of people walking in and on to give us their insight and their take of the show. We Are Wrestling is coming back in September and November. The tag team tournament continues.
Real quick, Sue.
So, who that?
What's up?
They're doing their live show right now.
Who that?
That was good.
Yo.
It was good.
The goat, the backstage goat.
What?
That was wild.
Backstage brawl goat. Wild. Sorry.
That was crazy.
But anyway.
Sitting over here, I'm like,
so big shout out to Birmingham Southern. Let's get this NCAA College World Series, which your school shut down. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Speaking of college, NCAA 25 comes out real soon. Y'all probably won't be hearing from me when that comes out because I'll be trying to build my program from scratch. I'm gonna get a college program built from New York. We get all the 5-star recruits. We're doing that.
What are you willing to do to get that 25?
That was crazy. Still, you gotta relax.
Nah, listen, I see people willing to do some crazy shit.
People have been saying some wild stuff on.
They say wild shit to get that game.
Yeah, but
it's crazy.
I'm gonna buy the game myself.
I like Pete here. But Pete, your hair looks elite, bro. I don't know how you did the Alex Rodriguez, the shining right.
A-Rod swoop,
they got the right
shine.
little
Yeah, we see it.
That shit's crazy. I like it.
You got that A-Rod number 2 with the extra
A-Rod number 2. But be on the lookout. Be on the lookout for a lot more stuff from the Yerrr Sports Show. If you're listening to this, definitely please support. We're on all social media platforms at Yerrr Sports Show. Follow our individuals stuff. And for the voice of Generation P. Rosado, for BK Matt, for the People's Champ, Randy, a.k.a. Stu, it is your boy, the Wise Brother, Big Baby, signing off. Peace.